On to the future of transportation, tonight presented by Speck Design and Ford. Yeah, I just want to, and just that, I think it's an incredibly great point you just made there, and I think one of the things that people forget about with transportation is they think about it as software. Right. It's hardware.
It's hardware.
We are moving pieces of hardware around, and supply has to meet demand. This is not something where you can have user rates that influx. Right. You actually really have to have a throughput.
And there's no app to repave a road. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need money, asphalt,
yes.
and workers.
Yes.
You actually need, it's IRL, it's not virtual stuff.
Which is very counterintuitive to how, everything right now is talked about as the lean startup method, test, agile. You can't do that very easily in transportation. And so it's a whole different model where you're in Silicon Valley, you're talking about disruption, but you can't do the disruption that we're used to.
Right.
And
I think that, on his point though, Dave really said it really clearly. There's this big question now in the government of, well, what is public transportation then? So if the definition of public transportation, and the federal definition is it's public transport, available to everybody whether you like it or not. It's available. If bike share is becoming available and adding and augmenting to public transit, why does bike share have to become a profitable enterprise, and why isn't it folded?
And why does it have to be private?
Why isn't it folded into the public transportation system, which we all agreed as citizens 100 years ago that we're going to subsidize public transit because it's meeting the public good. No public transit system, except for Hong Kong, can make operational profit because it's about development. Yeah. It's density and development. We want American-style suburbs with a bus every 15 minutes. That's going to be run by the government. That cannot be made for profit. Sorry. But you want to have 40-story buildings everywhere with a subway stop every quarter mile linked to a shopping center. Transit works perfectly. In fact, it works so good, 85% of all trips in Hong Kong are transit trips, right? So this thing actually makes money. So I think the question is the scale bit is really about how we view our society and our economy and how we fund stuff in infrastructure, which is taxes, user fees, all that sort of stuff. And if we will tap out all the billionaires who are going to be these angel investors who will drop $1 billion. We had Vincent Bolloré from in Paris who said, "F it to the city of Paris. You can't do an electric car share system. I'm going to do it myself. Plonk 400 million euros and get it done." You don't have many of those people. We have a lot of billionaires, but unfortunately they're not interested in transportation. They're interested in other things like, public health and really important things.
Whatever, school.
Yeah, school education, that kind of stuff. So transport is kind of seen of like, if you're good enough that you can show up to make some money yourself, but we also need to scale it and needs some assistance. So that's what I think, to your question, these public and private partnerships are going to be essential because the private sector can't get into the public process and the public sector can't raise the funds enough to scale this, and they don't have the customer interface tools. The UI UX is perfected in the private sector. It's Neanderthal in the government sector. So we need to optimize those two strengths and cores and figure out how do we bring those two things together. That's why, for me, what I think in our role is that we want to partner with everybody because we want to figure out how do we optimize the transportation system, because the city's ultimate goal, and for a couple of years, is we want to see people in every city like they do is less car ownership, less individual car usage, and less single occupant vehicle trips, because it's physical geometry. You can't fit those many people in a 30-foot square foot area. It doesn't physically work. It's actually easier to have everybody vertical, like this, going through a system every minute than it is to be sitting like this by yourself with 4 empty seats. It just doesn't physically work. So we can squeeze the vehicle down to the absolute smallest footprint, which is a bicycle, or something in between, but that oscillation is really dependent on the land use. The density of the city.
It really is a throughput. This is like a manufacturing system.
Exactly. So surveys we found that we asked people to put an emotion to a commute experience. Driving was frustrated, angry, anxious, demonic type responses. Walking was exhausted, unsafe to cross, etc. Transit was crowded and frustrated, and bicycling was fun, fit, and happy.
Deep linking is, it's a pretty nerdy term. Deep linking is the linking of apps within apps behind you. So that in the same way the web is very interconnected, apps are silos that don't necessarily communicate with each other, but if you're in Google Maps and it says, hey, you could take a car from a company like Lyft or Swyft to get to this location, that's deep linking. The deep link is the the technological bridge between that independent service and the application that you're already in. So in the future, we will be linked on apps in the way we are on the web. And deep linking is a real big part of the future of transportation. Those of you not as meta as someone on the right of this panel. That said.
Actually, I do have one question. I'm kind of curious. But the integration, you're not deep linking to an app. People can actually request a Lyft car. So from the user's perspective, they don't have to switch apps. So for example, if you go to Kayak,
is that the user isn't even aware that that
He's not
happened. That is
aware.
the whole point of deep linking. It's like,
exactly.
I knew you wanted a glass of wine, so I served it to you.
Yeah.
That's like, I knew you needed a car, so here it is.
And so it's
Doesn't
even
matter where you go.
more seamless than something like, for example, kayak.com. So you search for an airline, you're like,
Way
oh, I'm
different.
going to take United.
Totally.
And then you go to United and, it's pretty populated. This is, you don't even have to leave kayak.com. Or in this
And
case,
it's already selected to be the best option for you. So you just
Based
have
on-
no
based on
mind as a
preferences.
user.